Before we get to the story, take a second to give this video a like and subscribe. Your contribution to the development of the channel is invaluable. Thank you. Dawn creeps softly over Austin as I stir awake in my modern apartment, nestled in a historic district where every brick and spray-painted mural whispers of rebellion and unfulfilled dreams. The early light reveals bold splashes of graffiti that seem to challenge the morning's stillness, a visual reminder that freedom is a living, breathing art in these streets. I rise slowly, my limbs heavy with a night of tangled thoughts, and head to the small, sunlit kitchen. Here, ritual begins with the simple act of brewing an exotic herbal tea. Each measured pour and simmering aroma transports me into a vortex of memories, the bittersweet taste of lost hopes and the unspoken promises of youth. I sip deliberately, feeling the warmth spread through me, as if each drop holds the power to awaken dormant parts of my soul. A vintage record player sits in the corner, an heirloom that has seen better days. With a gentle hand, I set the needle on a jazz record. The first notes float through the air, tender yet defiant, inviting me to embrace a day filled with both the promise of new beginnings and the sting of past betrayals. The music carries an undercurrent of melancholy, a reminder that every melody is as layered and conflicted as the heart that hears it. In the adjoining room, the faint sound of a knock draws my attention. I step out to find Emily, my neighbor from the building next door. We exchange wary smiles as we share a few words about the latest swirling rumors of infidelity and secret passions that have gripped our tight-knit community. Her hushed tone and sidelong glances hint at stories too dangerous to fully unravel. Even in this early hour, the air is thick with the weight of hidden truths. After our brief conversation, I return to the solitude of my morning. Dressed in my favorite worn sweater, a relic of dreams once vivid, I pause before the mirror. The reflection stares back, marked by a profound internal conflict. I had once longed for a passion that could set my spirit ablaze, but now every day feels dominated by obligations that smother the wild, untamed parts of me. My husband Jason embodies this very reality. I recall our terse exchange from just moments ago. He had asked, in a tone too cool to hide his discontent, "Why do you always seem so lost in thought?" I had answered simply, "I'm tired of this endless sameness." His indifferent eyes, however, spoke of secrets and hypocrisy, of a mutual understanding that our smiles were fragile masks covering darker truths. In that quiet morning tension, the familiar routine of our lives fractured into a mosaic of desires and disappointments, an uneasy truce between duty and the craving for something genuine, something raw. The day has only just begun, yet the undercurrents of our silent betrayals and unspoken yearnings already ripple beneath the surface, setting the stage for a journey where every moment promises both beauty and pain. The morning's haze deepens as I step into the contemporary glass and steel office, a stark contrast to the soulful streets of Austin. Here, among rows of bustling colleagues and hums of corporate jargon, my inner world roars silently. The meeting room transforms into a battleground where ideas of freedom and change clash with the cold, calculated mask of corporate pretense. I find myself caught between ambition and a deep-seated yearning for authenticity, a duality that seems to define every moment of my life. During a brainstorming session, my colleague Ryan, whose enigmatic presence has increasingly captivated my attention, invites me for a coffee break. Away from the sterile conference table, we settle in a quiet corner of the office's sleek lounge. With a subtle glance that speaks volumes, Ryan opens up about the seductive allure of passion and the ease with which one can betray even their own principles when driven by an insatiable desire for liberation. His words pierce through the monotony of our daily routine, stirring something profound within me. a fleeting recollection of a kiss that once shattered my trust and redefined my understanding of betrayal. As we sip our espressos, the conversation flows with unexpected candor. Ryan confesses that within the confines of these very walls, he too battles with the weight of unfulfilled dreams and hidden transgressions. His eyes, intense yet vulnerable, suggest that beneath the polished exterior lies a restless spirit, aching for a taste of the raw and untamed. Around us, the hum of the office continues, voices discussing deadlines and strategies, but in our secluded dialogue, every word takes on the gravity of a confession. Later, during a quiet moment by a sunlit window, I catch my own reflection mingling with the bustling city outside. In the silent dialogue with myself, I confront the duality that has defined my existence, a deep-seated conflict between the responsibilities of the everyday and the burning desire for a life unbound by deceit. My thoughts turn to the echo of a whispered secret from a colleague, remarking that we all wear masks, concealing a yearning for a freedom that seems just out of reach. It is a statement that reverberates within me, forcing me to reckon with the realization that I have been too long content with shadows and half-truths. In that reflective pause, the sterile environment of the office begins to feel suffocating, as if every spreadsheet and strategic plan is a metaphor for the facade I maintain in my own life. The internal voices grow louder, a chorus of doubts and desires urging me to break free from the confines of predictable routines. I start scribbling down my thoughts in a small leather-bound notebook, capturing the raw pulse of my emotions before they are swallowed by the corporate grind. By the time the break ends, a subtle but irreversible shift has taken root within me. The conversation with Ryan and my own internal monologue have planted a seed of rebellion against the masquerade of professionalism. In that transformative moment, I sense that the path to authenticity, though fraught with the risk of betrayal and regret, is the only route to a life imbued with truth. As I return to the meeting, a new resolve stirs inside me, an unspoken promise that the day will unveil secrets, and that every step, however painful, is a step towards reclaiming the passion I once thought lost. So, one evening, I find myself wandering into the city library, not really planning on it at all. It's one of those spur-of-the-moment decisions that just feels right, like when you're tired of the same old routine and you need something unexpected to shake things up. I'm browsing through the stacks, half listening to the quiet hum of conversation, when suddenly I spot Ryan. He's tucked away in a corner, completely absorbed in a book about love, betrayal, and everything in between. I almost laugh at the irony. Here we are, caught up in our everyday chaos, and here he is, diving deep into the raw stuff of life. Hey, I didn't expect to see you here, I say, trying to sound casual, though my heart's pounding a little faster. He looks up with that familiar, enigmatic smile, one that's always been equal parts charming and dangerous. Neither did I, Ryan replies with a shrug, his tone light and easy, as if meeting in a library were the most natural thing in the world. I guess we're both in the mood for a little escape, huh? We settle into a quiet conversation, the kind that feels like two old friends catching up rather than a chance meeting. Between hushed laughs and thoughtful pauses, Ryan starts talking about how sometimes the rules we live by just don't match the fire burning inside us. He mentions, almost offhandedly, a past mistake, a kiss that wasn't meant to happen, a moment of weakness that left him reeling with guilt and excitement all at once. I can't help but relate. I know what you mean, I say, leaning forward, my voice barely above a whisper. There was a time when I thought every no was just an invitation for a yes, but it always ended up feeling like a betrayal, even when it was just a fleeting moment. Our conversation shifts, slipping naturally from awkward truths to the thrill of the forbidden. Ryan's eyes light up when he says, You ever feel like sometimes you're just living someone else's life? Like, one minute you're playing it safe, and the next, you're chasing after something that feels real, even if it's dangerous? I nod, feeling every word. Absolutely. It's like there's this whole part of me that's been locked away, waiting for a chance to break free. And every time I think I've found a way out, something pulls me back to what I'm supposed to be. The night wears on, and our conversation gets deeper, more personal. We talk about how society tells us to keep our desires under wraps, to follow the rules, and how that constant suppression only fuels a restless hunger. Ryan jokes about how the world's full of people wearing masks, and I laugh, thinking about my own mask that I wear every day without even noticing. Then, out of nowhere, Ryan leans in and says, "Sometimes you gotta risk it all to really feel alive, even if that means stepping into the unknown and breaking a few promises along the way." His words hit me like a splash of cold water, provocative, sincere, and somehow painfully honest. Before I know it, the library lights dim as closing time nears. We reluctantly part ways, but there's an unspoken agreement hanging in the air. This isn't the end of our conversation. Later that night, I get a text from him, casually suggesting we meet up on the roof of an old abandoned building downtown. It sounds crazy, but it feels right, like the perfect next step in a journey I wasn't even sure I wanted to take. Driving home, my mind races with possibilities. I'm excited, nervous, and even a little scared of what this new, forbidden chapter might bring. I know I'm teetering on the edge of something that could change everything, and that, in its own raw, untamed way, is exactly what I need. This morning, reality struck me hard, right before I stepped into my office. As I walked out the door, I bumped into a street musician setting up his spot on the corner. His guitar case lay open, a silent invitation for coins and a moment of honest connection. He strummed a few bluesy chords that felt like a raw confession, each note a reminder that life rarely fits neatly into our carefully constructed plans. I paused for a moment, leaning against the brick wall, letting the musician's soulful play wash over me. It was as if his melody was echoing my own inner disquiet, the clash between a life that feels suffocatingly ordinary and a heart yearning for forbidden truths. In that instant, the city's background chatter faded away, replaced by the bittersweet harmony of his music. I found myself thinking. Every note was like a tear, washing away the pretense of our daily routines. Just as I began to get lost in the moment, my phone buzzed sharply in my pocket. It was Jason. His name flashing on the screen brought an immediate pang of guilt. I answered with a hesitance that I couldn't quite hide. "Yeah?" I managed, trying to keep my tone light, though my stomach churned with dread. On the other end, his voice was cool, yet laden with a cold intensity. "Where are you?" he asked, and there was an edge in his tone that told me he sensed something was off. His question wasn't just about my location, it was a question about my commitment, my loyalty, about the invisible line I'd already begun to blur. I mumbled something about being on my way to the office, but inside I was caught in a storm of conflicting emotions. That brief conversation was a brutal reminder. The world I was flirting with, the realm of passion, risk, and yes, betrayal, could never comfortably coexist with the daily life I was supposed to lead. The musician's fading chords, the cool morning air, and Jason's accusatory tone all converged in a single, jarring moment of clarity. As I hung up, the street musician gave me a knowing nod, as if he understood the collision unfolding in my heart. His eyes held a quiet sympathy, a silent acknowledgement that sometimes life forces us to face the painful truth of our own contradictions. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the decision I was inching toward. Every step forward in this tangled dance with desire and duty now carried the undeniable risk of shattering the fragile balance I had maintained for so long. Walking back toward my office, I couldn't shake the sensation that every small encounter, the mournful strum of a guitar, a piercing phone call, a stranger's silent glance, was part of an unexpected reckoning. And even though my heart raced at the thought of breaking free, a deep, lingering fear told me that stepping off this well-worn path might leave behind nothing but shattered illusions. That evening, after a long day of internal storms and unexpected encounters, I find myself in an art cafe known for its edgy vibe and unapologetic displays of modern art. The dim lighting and eclectic decor create a kind of secret world, a place where confessions slip out as easily as the clink of glasses. I settle into a worn leather chair, my thoughts still echoing the morning's revelations, when Ryan appears at my side. His presence is magnetic, a mix of danger and allure that I've come to crave. Without preamble, Ryan casually hands me a cup of his favorite artisanal coffee. Every touch, every little gesture, he murmurs as our fingers brush, is a chance to rewrite our story, either as redemption or betrayal. His tone is soft, yet it resonates like a challenge. In that split second, I feel a shiver of anticipation. Is it really just a fleeting contact, or does it carry the weight of unspoken promises? We drift to a quieter corner of the cafe, where muted conversations and the gentle hum of background music set the stage for our dialogue. Ryan leans in, and his voice drops to an intimate whisper. Remember that kiss we talked about earlier? The one that was as sweet as it was dangerous? He looks directly into my eyes, his gaze intense and searching. I can't help but recall the memory, the way that forbidden kiss once felt like a gateway to something profound, yet it left a scar of betrayal. I reply softly, it wasn't just a kiss, was it? It was a reminder that sometimes the lines between passion and treachery blur so easily. My words hang in the air, and for a moment, the world outside the cafe seems to fall away. We're suspended in our own private space where vulnerability meets the thrill of the unknown. The conversation naturally drifts towards the deeper currents that run beneath our everyday lives. Ryan speaks of the delicate balance between embracing the change that passion can bring and the ever-present risk of shattering trust. I've always believed that even the most tender touch can hide a secret, a reminder of how easily loyalty can slip away. He confesses. There's a raw sincerity in his tone that makes my heart race and my mind swirl with the possibilities and the consequences. I share my own confession, admitting that each intimate encounter carries with it the bittersweet risk of betrayal. Every moment of closeness feels like a double-edged sword, I say. It can be the start of something healing or the end of what I once believed was unbreakable. Our dialogue is both a comfort and a warning, a mutual recognition that in our quest for authenticity, every caress, every stolen glance might be laced with the promise of both salvation and regret. As the night deepens, we slip into a comfortable silence filled only with the murmurs of the cafe and our shared heartbeat. It's in these subtle moments, the soft sigh as we part, the lingering touch on my hand, that I sense the fragile beauty of this complicated dance between change and betrayal. I leave the cafe with a head full of emotions and a heart heavy with the realization that sometimes the most intimate moments are the ones that carry the deepest risks, and every act of closeness is a step further into a realm where trust and treachery are eternally intertwined. The following morning, as I'm barely shaking off the haze of dreams and late-night confessions, reality barges in with no warning. I'm on my way to the office when my phone rings, the screen flashing Jason's name. The sound of his voice instantly sends a chill down my spine, a reminder that my private rebellions are never far from the prying eyes of duty and commitment. "Where are you?" he asks, his tone measured but laced with an unmistakable coldness. I can almost feel the weight of his disappointment, the silent accusation of betrayal hidden in every syllable. I manage a strained reply, something vague about a meeting, and promise to call him back soon. But even as I hang up, his words echo relentlessly, forcing me to confront the stark divide between the life I've constructed and the tumult of secrets I've been nurturing. The day trudges on in the sterile corridors of the office. Every click of a keyboard and every hushed conversation among colleagues serves as a constant reminder that I'm living a double life. One where the bright spark of forbidden passion is forever shadowed by obligations and hidden truths. At a critical meeting, as strategic plans and quarterly goals are discussed with unnerving detachment, I sense the fissure in my own facade. The conversation drifts from profit margins to whispered rumors about fidelity and trust. It feels as if every corporate mantra, every rehearsed phrase about teamwork, is itself a subtle commentary on the delicate balance between responsibility and personal desire. During a brief pause in the meeting, I catch a glimpse of a colleague's knowing look, a look that speaks of shared frustrations and unspoken regrets. He murmurs something about everyone wearing masks, and I nod silently, my thoughts a tangled mess of what-ifs and bitter reality. The office, with its orderly rows of desks and predictable routines, seems at odds with the raw, unpredictable emotions I carry inside. Later, while I'm forced to focus on reports and deadlines, my mind drifts back to that morning call from Jason. His voice had a calm cruelty that made it clear that trust, once broken, casts a long shadow over every moment of our day-to-day lives. I realize that each task, every mundane obligation, is now tinged with the bittersweet sting of knowing that the facade I maintain is crumbling just a little more each day. By the time the workday draws to a close, I'm left with an aching mix of defiance and resignation. The external world, with all its rigid expectations and routine interactions, has once again intruded on the tender space of my inner rebellion. And though a part of me yearns to break free completely, to abandon the carefully crafted balance between duty and desire, I also know that reality has a way of demanding its due, one cold, hard reminder at a time. Saturday morning arrives like a reluctant alarm clock, dragging me out of the nocturnal haze of introspection. At home, Jason's voice is already filling the space with his insistence on fixing up the house, a symbol he claims of stability and responsibility. As he critiques every scuffed wall and squeaky door, his tone carries a familiar hint of condescension that cuts deeper than the hammer's blow. "This house needs a proper touch," he declares, as if his words could cement my wavering resolve. His focus on routine and order is a stark contrast to the unpredictable pulse that stirs within me. Barely recovering from his pragmatic lecture, I receive an unexpected invitation from Ryan. Over a quick text, he suggests joining him for a culinary masterclass that promises not just a lesson in cooking, but a taste of liberation, spiced, perhaps, with a hint of delicious rebellion. His message is succinct yet provocative. "Come, let's stir up something wild. Sometimes you need to cook up a new beginning, even if it's a little risky." His words ignite a spark in me, challenging the monotony that Jason's world represents. My inner self battles between these two poles, the duty-bound, predictable life with Jason and the alluring, uncertain possibility of something real and raw with Ryan. I try to articulate this conflict to Jason over a quick breakfast, hinting at my fatigue with the mundane. "I'm just tired of the same old routine," I say, hoping he'll understand, but his response is a flat, "It's always been this way." His dismissal feels like a closing door on any chance of a different narrative, leaving me adrift between responsibility and desire. That evening, I slip away from the structured confines of home and head to the culinary masterclass. The venue is a vibrant industrial space repurposed for creative gatherings, a world away from the neat lines of my daily routine. As soon as I step inside, I'm greeted by a riot of energy. Young chefs and artists chatting animatedly about food, art, and the wild stories behind both. It's a place where every ingredient, every brushstroke, is charged with meaning. Ryan is there, his presence as magnetic as ever. In the midst of clinking glasses and bursts of laughter, he introduces me to Liana, a charismatic chef known for her unconventional approach to cooking. Over the hum of creative energy, Liana shares how society forces us into roles where we often betray our true selves just to fit in. Sometimes, she confides with a wry smile, the only way to be free is to risk a little betrayal, even if it means spicing up your life with some discomfort. Inspired, Ryan and I join forces with the group to create an original recipe that becomes our collective metaphor for life's dualities. Each ingredient we add is a symbol, a dash of bitter espresso representing past betrayals, a drizzle of honey to capture the sweetness of genuine connection, and a pinch of chili that stands for the unexpected kick of passion. The collaborative spirit in the room is contagious, as each participant shares a slice of their own story, a kiss that healed, a mistake that taught, a betrayal that left scars yet paved the way for new beginnings. As the evening unfolds, our conversation flows effortlessly, unburdened by the formalities of everyday life. We speak openly about our fears and dreams, about how every bold choice carries the risk of both heartache and hope. The air is thick with a palpable sense of possibility, a feeling that maybe, just maybe, change is not something to fear, but an invitation to live more honestly. By the time the masterclass winds down, I realize that tonight I've taken a significant step. The tension between duty and my inner fire has not been resolved, but it has transformed into a courageous acknowledgement of my desire for authenticity. Leaving the gathering, I carry with me a renewed sense of self, a promise that, even in the face of betrayal and routine, I will dare to embrace the wild, unpredictable beauty of life. That night, I find myself swept up in the vibrant chaos of a local street festival. The city is alive with spontaneous art installations, eclectic music, and bursts of color that seem to defy the drab routines of daily life. I wander through the maze of food stalls, live murals, and impromptu performances, each step feeling like a small act of rebellion against a life defined by predictability. Here, in the midst of neon lights and laughter, I sense that every corner holds a secret, a promise of something unspoken yet real. While browsing near a pop-up art display, I catch sight of Ryan again. He's standing by a makeshift stage where a group of performance artists is discussing the nature of change and betrayal. Intrigued, I join the circle. One of the performers, a sharp-witted poet named Mia, declares, "In every hidden glance and whispered secret, we find the truth we dare not show." Her words hang in the air, charged with both vulnerability and defiance. Ryan leans in and, with a conspiratorial smile, murmurs, "That's exactly it. We wear our secrets like badges, daring the world to uncover them." His tone is playful, yet there's an unmistakable gravity in his eyes that makes me wonder just how much truth he's willing to reveal tonight. Later, we leave the festival together, the energy of the crowd still buzzing in our veins. We make our way to an experimental cinema tucked away in an old warehouse, a place known for showcasing films that push boundaries and challenge perceptions. Inside, the atmosphere is intimate and electric. As the lights dim, I feel a sense of anticipation, as if the screen is about to project not just images, but the inner workings of our conflicted hearts. The film is a montage of raw, unfiltered moments, faces in close-up, voices overlaid with snippets of poetry about loss, freedom, and the bittersweet taste of betrayal. Every scene feels like a mirror reflecting our hidden longings. During the intermission, In the cramped lobby filled with hushed whispers, I strike up a conversation with an elderly man who's been watching the film with a reflective intensity. You know, he says softly, sometimes the risk of change is the only path to truly knowing yourself. His words resonate deeply, stirring memories of moments when I took chances and felt both liberated and exposed. I nod, sharing a brief smile with him, as if acknowledging that each of us carries a story of daring moments and quiet regrets. As the film resumes, Ryan and I exchange subtle glances, an unspoken pact to keep exploring, no matter how dangerous or exhilarating it might be. The dialogue around us fades into the background as I focus on the flickering images and the promise of new beginnings. Every conversation at the festival, every secret shared in that dimly lit lobby, serves as a reminder that life is meant to be felt fully, even if it means risking the stability of everything I've known. Leaving the cinema later, under a starry sky, the cool night air seems to whisper possibilities. We walk side by side, our conversation shifting seamlessly from art to the personal risks we take in the name of truth. It's a delicate dance between holding on and letting go, between the comfort of familiar routines and the allure of undiscovered passion. With each step, I'm reminded that every secret, every whispered confession, is a bold strike against the silence of complacency, and that sometimes, embracing that risk is the only way to truly feel alive. In a moment of desperate clarity, I decide to leave behind the clamor of the city, if only for a few days. Packing a small bag with essentials and memories that no longer serve me, I drive out to a quiet lakeside village, a stark contrast to the restless energy of Austin. The winding road, lined with ancient trees and hidden glens, feels like a journey into my own soul, each mile distancing me from the weight of betrayal and the cacophony of unresolved emotions. Arriving at a weathered cottage by the lake, I feel an unexpected peace amid the isolation. The air is crisp and untouched by the busy pulse of urban life, and every breath seems to cleanse a piece of the past. On the first morning, I step out onto a creaking wooden deck to watch the sunrise. The soft glow over the still water stirs something inside me, a realization that each new dawn carries the possibility of forgiveness, both for myself and those who once shattered my trust. As the mist drifts lazily across the lake's surface, I take a long, contemplative walk along the shore. The rhythmic lapping of water against rocks serves as a gentle reminder that, like the tides, healing comes in inevitable cycles. Later, in a quaint village cafe with creaking wooden floors and the murmur of local stories, I meet Anton, a soft-spoken poet known for his reflective nature. Over a cup of strong, dark coffee, he shares his own journey of heartbreak and renewal. Sometimes, he says quietly, you must escape to find the piece of yourself that got lost in the chaos of betrayal. The silence here speaks louder than any argument ever did. His words resonate deeply, and for a while, the pain of past infidelities softens under the weight of honest conversation. In the afternoon, I wander into an old, dusty library tucked away in a narrow side street. Among the faded pages of forgotten journals and yellowed manuscripts, I find a quiet corner where I sit and write. With each word penned, I confront the ghost of a kiss that once symbolized betrayal, a kiss that transformed me, leaving both scars and wisdom. The library's hushed ambiance seems to encourage an unburdening of the soul, allowing me to reflect on my mistakes and, more importantly, to embrace them as stepping stones to a future built on authenticity. As dusk settles, the sky transforms into a canvas of fiery oranges and soft purples. On the lakeshore, I watch the sun slowly sink behind the distant hills, each moment laden with the promise of renewal. In that fleeting, transcendent silence, I whisper a vow to myself: to seek truth over comfort, to let the scars of betrayal guide me rather than define me. The gentle lapping of the lake and the soft murmur of the wind become a lullaby, soothing the wounds of the past and heralding the beginning of a more honest, unencumbered life. That night, under a sky strewn with stars, I meet Ryan by the lake's edge, where the gentle lapping of water provides a soft counterpoint to our low, earnest conversation. We settle on an old wooden bench, the kind that creaks under the weight of shared secrets, and let the silence speak as much as our words. Ryan starts quietly. Every star up there feels like a promise, yet each one reminds me that sometimes even the brightest light can fade. Every kiss, every act of passion carries a risk. It might be a promise of new beginnings, or it might be our last honest moment before we betray ourselves again. His voice is calm but heavy with truth. I nod slowly, feeling that his words echo the reality I've been grappling with. I've been holding on to these memories, these scars, I admit, my tone raw with vulnerability. And tonight, as I watch the lake shimmer under the moon, I realize there's no turning back. Every moment, every kiss, every betrayal has led me here, to a point where I must either accept my past or let it define my future. His gaze meets mine, a mixture of sorrow and determination in his eyes. Later, I attend a cultural event, a modern theater production that challenges long-held beliefs about love, loyalty, and the masks we wear. The play is a kaleidoscope of raw emotion and powerful imagery, each scene unfolding like a confession of the human soul. In one poignant moment, an actor declares, "We are all condemned to wear our pasts like scars, yet these scars remind us we once lived passionately." That line sends a shiver through me. It's a reminder that, despite the risk of betrayal, the truth is the only way to heal. At a subsequent family dinner, emotions rise unexpectedly. Over a long table set in the soft glow of pendant lights, old wounds and fresh regrets mingle with tentative hope. Jason, usually so controlled, finds himself opening up about his own mistakes. "Maybe we've been hiding too much behind our routines," he confesses quietly, glancing at me as if searching for forgiveness. The conversation is unfiltered, a raw exchange that challenges us both to see each other as imperfect, evolving souls rather than static roles. The next day at work, a crucial meeting forces me to make a bold decision about a creative project that I've been championing. In the boardroom, with skeptical eyes all around, I stand up and declare, "I'm done pretending that I can ignore my truth. Today, I choose to risk everything for the chance to create something genuine." The words feel like a liberation, a final severance from the illusions of our past lives. Ryan's supportive nod during that meeting fuels my resolve further. Finally, that night, I stand before a full-length mirror in the quiet of my apartment, the reflection of a woman who has been forever changed by her choices. I speak softly to my own reflection. There's no turning back. Every scar, every betrayal, has led me to this moment of clarity. I am who I am, and I choose to embrace it. In that solitary conversation, with only my heartbeat as witness, I accept that the road ahead is uncharted, fraught with the risk of further pain, but it is also brimming with the promise of a life lived honestly, where every kiss, every misstep, is a testament to my unyielding pursuit of truth.